Good evening. Well, the surgery went well, um, but it brought me back to things that, you know, I don't like going back to. But I just wanted to take this opportunity to do a little bit of my history with my thoughts of the medical field. I grew up most of my childhood with my stepfather as a physician. So we got the regular immunizations. There was no yearly checkups to the hospital or to the doctor per se. We only went when it was necessary. Back then, there was no such thing as well checkups. And when it came to the children, neither one of them were, like hypochondriac type parents. And I won't get into my mother. My mother was an addict, prescription addict, and so that's a whole different story, but I have to kind of include it here as to the perspective of most of us and our view of medicine. We are now in our 40s and 50s, and one of us is gone. He died. But it was nothing to do with, it was a boating accident. Nothing to do with drugs or alcohol. None of us became addicts that I know about, which is a miracle. But my view on the medical field, I just didn't see it as necessary to go unless I had to go for something. I mean, I had to go to have a child. And I had to go to these appointments that they told me I had to go to. I mean, that was pretty much it. I didn't see it as like a saving. Some people just go for everything. I mean, they get a cold or a sniffle and they're gone to the doctor. Or now these urgent care centers that didn't exist when we were growing up. So then I went through my boy's accident, and the doctors were fantastic, I have to say. There's one who was the ear, nose, and throat doctor, surgeon, and he also was a plastic surgeon that put my son's face back together and reconstructed around his eye, and it is miraculous what he did. So there are places for the medical field, absolutely. But then I got post-traumatic stress disorder, and what was done to me on the psychological end of things completely fails. Completely fails. I began to understand that there were things I needed to question. I've been off of medication for, I guess, maybe 5 years now. Nearly. And I started questioning things and looking at things. And when they approached me about 5 years ago, having to do with the vaccine for HPV, I had already read enough to know that my daughter was not getting that. And I had also witnessed from the inside of a doctor's office growing up all the salesmen, the pharmaceutical salespeople coming through the office, and the free pens and the free pads and the free food and the free this and the free that. There weren't ever any trips to Tahiti or anything. There weren't any things like that I'm aware of at all. I believe I would have known about that kind of shenanigans, but I knew it went on, and I mean, that's, with other doctors and other things, and I don't know, kickbacks with some of the medication, and just the unethical part of the medical. You can see it with the insurance. You can see it with what happens with the billing. You can see it, and I could see it back then. So I went through the hospital and lived there for 2.5 months at least with my oldest son. My youngest was there for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And, even though miraculous things happen there, you don't really want to go back, because it brings up those feelings of being trapped and helpless and praying every day, in shock mostly, numb a lot, having feelings you can't even possibly process at that time. And then we come to more present times in the last 2 years, and my life and my journey through the medical field, and watching things and studying things and having my core understanding of biology, which is essential to understanding that the real basis of all this is false. And if you start from the base, and the base is false, it's built on false premises, well, then everything that follows is false. That's just logical. But to really know, to really know that these people will follow procedures before they'll follow what is correct medicine without questioning is scary. It's downright scary. So when you have to go into a hospital for a procedure that you need, and no longer just take for granted that anything that comes out of their mouth is fine, and I just need to sign a piece of paper or let somebody else sign a piece of paper. I listen very carefully to what they say. I listen and watch them. I read what kind of person they are. I'm just very cautious the whole time, throughout the whole process. And it's the way we should have been all along. It's the way we should have been all along. You don't just hand your life over to people without understanding as much as you possibly can from A to Z of what is going on. And do your research, because it's your life. And this time, we were lucky, or not lucky, through a lot of prayers. It's the right doctor, the right demeanor, the right nurses, the whole thing right, in order, the way it should be. So far. And that's the way it has to be from now on. I am not going to be running up there for sniffles and coughs. It's going to have to be broken arms, heart, lungs. It's going to have to be something major. It's just the way it is. And there are other ways to, we got away from the natural things. You might want to look into some of that. I'm not saying never. I'm just saying if it's not necessary. That's all I'm saying. We need to learn how to take care of ourselves in more ways than one. Times are changing. It's not that it's just gotten so much worse. It's just that it's in our face and they don't care anymore. That's what makes it so shocking. But they've been there all along, for decades, and decades, and decades. My whole life. We've been building on a bad system, some parts of it. So just be cautious and be very careful and be aware as much as possible. That's all I'm saying. And do a lot of praying. We're all gonna go one day. We just don't need to help them. Love to you all. Bye for now.